You are listening to the 8% Nation podcast, created to help you become a top producer in the insurance industry. Enjoy the show.
Welcome to the 8% Nation podcast, where this podcast is dedicated to helping you as an insurance agent get into the 8%. Don't be one of the 92 that fail. This is a very, very, very special edition of the 8% Nation podcast. We have our good friend, Ramiz.
Hey.
Ramiz Hakim, how are you doing, my friend?
Good, man. Good. Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here. Awesome office. Love the culture.
Thanks, man.
That was, I think, was the most exciting part for me. You guys have built a really good culture here, and you can catch that right when you walk in the doors.
Appreciate you saying that.
Yeah.
Well, what we want to do, Ramiz, is spend the next little bit of time just kind of unpacking all that wisdom you have in your brain.
Okay. That's
I have
dangerous.
heard, you may not have heard this said about you directly, but I hear all the time that when Ramiz is in the room, he's the gorilla in the room. Everybody looks up to Ramiz. But why don't we talk a little bit about why everybody looks up to you? You know, let's just talk a little bit business. Where are you current? What's your current situation? Your current office? Tell us a little bit about North Star, your setup, etc.
Okay. Well, first of all, I'm flattered that you would say that. I've never heard anyone say that about me. So.
Well, I hear it all the time.
Okay. Well, thank you. Currently, at the moment, myself and my partners are running North Star Insurance Advisors. We have been told by a number of independent carriers that we are the largest seller of final expense over the telephone on the IMO side. So there are some carriers that are bigger than us, but our goal is to overpass them in the years to come. And we're based out of Wentzville, Missouri. We just expanded our call center from what was a 200-person call center now to 1,200. And so we are on a mass hiring spree in the St. Louis region.
That's an understatement.
To get that location filled up.
Wow. So why don't you give us, if it's okay, lift the curtain just a little bit. What's your numbers look like? What's your premium you write? Like, help me understand what your weekly premium goals are. Or how's that work?
$2,000 a week, really.
$2,000 a week
For the whole company, just $2,000 a week. You know.
Oh yeah, barely making it.
Yeah,
sure. You know, I think Landon, I think the key indicator for how well a company is doing is really what is the numbers per agent.
Okay.
Like, what is the output per agent? Because I feel like the industry looks at the top and says, wow, look how good they're doing. But I don't think that's really a good indicator for how well a company is doing. And so I'll just tell you personally, within our operation, if an agent is not doing $5,000 a week in premium, more than $20,000 a month in annualized premium, only selling final expense, then I feel like as an agency we're failing that person.
Wow.
So we will do tens of millions this year, but not with tens of thousands of agents.
Correct.
Because there are IMOs who I would consider much larger than us, but I think if you come down on a micro level, you'll find that many of those agents are not where they want to be. And if the IMO is not positioning themselves with the agent in mind first, then that can be a very volatile situation.
So let's unpack that just a little bit. And do you have anything to add, Cody, on that number? I mean, sheesh.
No, that's strong. That's
It's
good,
incredible.
Man. It's crazy.
So that's your current goal, $5,000 a week. When you first,
No, that's the minimum.
minimum.
Yeah.
Okay. So has it always been set at that, that number, or did you grow into that, or walk me through sort of the evolution of how you were able to, because that number seems staggering to me, to have an individual telesales do that much per week.
Well, on an independent side, maybe that number is staggering.
Okay.
You know, if you got one guy working from home doing all the work, doing all the marketing, pre-qualifying, follow-up, that is a big number. But at the situation that we're in right now is we're looking more of an interdependent model as opposed to an independent model, where agents are counting on the IMO to deliver, and the IMO is financially invested in this agent to deliver. And so when you are building that kind of model, the synergy is what really builds up all that premium at one time. And so when you're investing in television ads, now what's staggering to me is not doing $5,000 a week following this model. You have hundreds of thousands of dollars being spent on television ads, driving inbound calls to a department who does pre-qualifying for you, simply throwing away leads that don't qualify or who aren't interested, then conferencing in that call with the sales rep, doing tie downs on the handoff, giving the agent an opportunity to then pitch this person who is qualified, interested, and knows it's going to cost money, having a script in place that's almost verbatim, being trained on one of the top platforms in the industry, in the world really, to be trained on. Making the sale without any paperwork, just totally electronic. Having that file then assigned to a customer service rep who will follow up on any pending items. If there's a missed payment, having just people doing all the back office work for you, so that you are just spending 100% of your time selling. Now, if you were seriously spending 100% of your time selling and then not driving to appointments and never having a no-show, I don't see how you could do less than 5,000.
That's a good point.
You know what I mean?
That's a good point. It actually doesn't sound that crazy when you put it like that. Yeah, of course, if you're only selling, you could sell that much. So you certainly didn't start there. You built this out over time in terms of your responsibility rationing that we've heard you talk about.
Sure.
Maybe, would you mind unpacking that responsibility rationing that we hear so much about? You spoke about it 8%.
Yeah.
Maybe unpack that just a little bit. Would you mind?
Yeah. So I started off as an independent face-to-face agent, just like most people. That's all that the industry was really providing at that point. Mm-hmm. And I joke about it, but I'm really serious. And I know it offends some people, but I hated doing it. I mean, it was not a good experience for me. Like, the money was really good, but just some of the situations I was put in, some of the ways I felt when I was in people's homes, the time that I felt like I was wasting, it just was uneasy for me. And I was pretty young to recognize, like, there has to be a better way of doing this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So my first employee I ever hired was my mom. And I'm like, Mom, listen, like, I need your help. Like, I'm calling these people and I'm trying to follow up with them and I'm having to reschedule appointments and I'm spending so much time not doing what I thought I was going to be doing, which is making sales and making money. So I hired my mom first, which was an advantage for me that I think most people don't have, because my mom was doing it for free. You know, we had just come out of some serious life circumstances where we had to come together as a family. And so she didn't charge me. She's like, listen, if you can just pay the bills, like, I'll do whatever you want, you know? So I'm like, well, just call these crazy people for me and get it done, you know?
Yeah.
And so as she started doing that and my sales began to increase, I was able to then bring in other people and say, could you do this for me? Could you do this for me? And I built a business around me, you know, which then eventually became an agency, which then eventually became a process and a procedure that could be duplicated over and over again. Now, the telesales side did not come until later on, because I didn't even know it was a possibility. And every time I asked somebody about telesales, I got the same answers. It's a bad idea, low quality business, you'll drown in chargebacks. And I believed it. So I stayed away from it. But there was a little agency in St. Louis that was doing it. And I thought, man, if I could just somehow figure out how to grow with them, there's an opportunity here. And that's how we ended up really building Northstar.
So that first group of people, your mom, didn't your brothers work for you?
Yeah, both of them.
Yeah. So what'd Tony do?
Tony was my customer service dude.
Okay.
You know, he was just taking care of anything service related. Sometimes I'd get phone calls from like sons or daughters who were upset that I had maybe collected some personal information from their parents. So Tony was able to smooth that stuff over. Jonathan was my marketing guy.
Okay.
He was 14 years old. So he'd come home from school and he'd work for me, setting my appointments for me. And we didn't have a bunch of office lines, so he had a Cricket cell phone. If you've ever had Cricket before, like, it only works like from 8 to 5.
This
okay,
is a
like
true family business.
Yeah. You know, so like he's like on one leg, pointing his finger in the air, trying to get reception to set appointments for me. He jokes because he really did. I couldn't afford anything but a lawn chair. Like, he sat in the lawn chair right outside the office to get the best reception.
And when you say the office,
it was a 200 square foot room.
Okay.
You know.
Is this in your home?
at your home?
Nope, I actually got an office.
Okay.
Yeah, and I had to borrow money from my grandma. It was $400 a month, and I didn't have the money.
So even grandma was involved.
Yeah, oh yeah, everybody, you know. And so that's how, that's how it started. So Tony was doing customer service. My brother Jonathan, who was really young, was setting appointments for me. My mom was doing paperwork, making sure that things were looking good, faxing it over, and corresponding with the carrier.
Okay. So that's incredible. That's hilarious, man.
Well, I'm really lucky that I have family that's that supportive.
Yeah.
You know?
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Not a lot of people have that. So if you don't have the cash to do it, you got to find ways to do that. And I was just fortunate enough to have a family that believed in me.
That's great.
What was it about, because you bring up a good point, because even me as a new agent, like, I got to where I was doing call nights, have people set appointments, or, like hiring my sisters, and I was a new agent, all that kind of stuff. What was it that made you think, okay, if someone's setting my appointments, someone's handling my service work, someone's, turning my apps, someone's handing me my check, whatever, like, that I can write more, that I'm, or, and you're not even, one thing we haven't talked about a ton is not only write more, but you're going to be happier, more confident, more productive. Your mental space is going to be right because you're not going to have to deal with everything else that goes along with it.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of walk through that.
Walk through it as in what, like, why did I come up with that idea?
Well, what was it about? What was it about doing that made you want to like get other people involved? You know, because most people don't. Most people don't think like that. You know.
Honestly, and I don't mean to be like disingenuous or rude, but it was just common sense to me.
Okay.
I mean, just common sense. Now, I grew up around entrepreneurs.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I grew up in the restaurant business with my mother and father working 12-hour days, me sleeping there, you know, like waking up, getting ready for school, going to the restaurant, sleeping, waking back up, going to school. My mom picking me up, going back, doing my homework on cardboard boxes, you know. So I grew up around hustlers, you know.
So it just made business sense.
Yeah, it was common sense. I knew we needed process and procedures, but I saw that at a very young age.
Cool.
Yeah.
So what did we get a lot of interest. In fact, Cody's going to be doing a webinar about transitioning to telesales.
Mm-hmm.
What would before I get in there, I'm not saying, nobody's saying the field sales is wrong or dead or it's a subpar, but for those of individuals that are looking to get into telesales from field sales, what would you recommend? What are some steps that you would recommend them take, or just some wisdom you could kind of shed on those?
I think what you need to do first is look back at your field sales experience and reflect on what you would have done different in that aspect first.
Okay.
I think a lot of people go into building something and don't count the cost before they do it. So you got to be very, very mindful of that. And don't believe the hype. You know, telesales is not easier than field sales. Mm-mm. It's much more difficult.
We talked about that like 2 episodes ago.
Yeah, it's much more difficult.
What do you mean? Let's go into that.
Well, you need to be trained to know how to communicate without using most of the tools used to communicate. In other words, the nonverbal cues are not prevalent over the phone. So you need to be talking and communicating and even exaggerating some aspects of the way you're doing that to fully communicate the message that you're trying to your customer. When I'm sitting with Miss Mary and I can touch Miss Mary's hand and be sentimental, it's so much easier to communicate whatever I'm trying to communicate to her. Well, you can't do that over the phone. So you need to be prepared for it to be more difficult before it becomes easy. Now, I believe that it'll become much more easier than face-to-face, but it's going to be much more difficult at first.
Interesting. So
for everybody.
Okay. So what else? What other advice would you give someone?
So you need, whenever you go into business, you need to have some capital. I mean, you need to be prepared to not make any money for 3 months. Okay. So you need to have in my opinion, 3 months worth of bills saved up, ready to spend on all your bills, because it's going to be a 90-day learning curve. There's no doubt about that. And I would say the same for face-to-face sales as well. You need to be prepared. Now, if you can't afford that or you're not willing to risk that, you need to stay
get a
away.
job.
Yeah, get a part-time job, work in the evenings.
Yep.
I'm not a big fan of that, but if you're serious about it, then you'll work whatever it takes to make that happen.
Is that one of the things you're like? Who hired you to first jump in the business?
Really, the first job I took was Primerica.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did they ask you, because I know a lot of managers, that's like a typical question, and you mentioned it, is how much do you have saved up, or how long could you go without a paycheck?
Sure.
That's like a super common question for a new agent.
Sure. They didn't ask me that, no.
Yeah, okay.
Now, their model is to start part-time and then work into full-time.
Yep.
So they were assuming most people couldn't jump in with both feet.
I didn't know you started there, huh?
Yeah, well, I was there for like 3 weeks, and then I was like the most veteran person there.
Yeah. Okay, so what any other wisdom just for that person transitioning or wanting to transition?
Yeah, I would say get in it for the right reasons. If you're looking for shortcuts, there are no shortcuts.
Okay.
I've heard people say that success is not, there's no key to success, it's a combination lock.
Okay.
So it takes time, it takes patience. You need to go in with no plan B. Like if you're thinking, well, I'm gonna dabble with this and then eventually if it doesn't work, I'll go back into field sales, it's just not gonna work. You need to be so over face-to-face sales that you're just all in on the telesales. If you're not there, you got plenty of time to keep doing what you're doing. I think it's still lucrative.
So do you think it's a guarantee that a good producer that goes from field sales to telesales will absolutely make far less money those first couple months on telesales?
I would count on that.
Yeah, because I know that's not the way that some of our people think.
No, I mean, there's people that are buying marketing from us and using our training and stuff, and they're at 6, 8, 10, sometimes 11K a week, and they're like, I want to now do telesales, and we're like, why?
Yeah.
But they almost think, well, I'm going to make more. It's like
every one of the agents that I have, every one of the agents, I'm thinking of almost every one of the agents that we have on staff has been a failed face-to-face agent. Almost every single one of them. specifically out of the independent model.
Is that because of like an agent that's just an absolute rock star in the field isn't going to listen or adapt to what works best for your call center?
Ask me that one more time.
Is it that like a really good agent,
Uh-huh.
you know? Because what's funny is you just mentioned they failed in the field.
Yeah.
I think most really good agents,
Mm-hmm.
like I probably wouldn't adapt well, and you probably aren't looking for someone like me, hypothetically, you know, had success as a field agent, because we just think we can do it our own way and figure it out, and it's like it doesn't plug into the system that you have.
Well, I think if you're experiencing success in the field, you're probably not looking for me anyways.
Yeah.
Although there are some that think, if I can do this and do it well, I want to do it over the phone, but they're not looking for my setup. Like, this is truly a plug and play setup. We're doing everything for you. The independent model, which is preached in the industry, and I have my own opinions on that, is go out, start your own business, do it on your own, hustle hard, make a lot of money. I believe that's a farce. I don't think that's how it shakes out for most people. And the people that followed that dream and end up seeing that it's really a nightmare are looking for more support, where they can build a business, they can be their own boss, but still have the support financially, emotionally, to help with training, like all the support needed to actually do that. I think if you look at any business, that support needs to be there. You look at a franchise model compared to, mom and pop opening up a restaurant. It's more difficult when you're doing it on your own.
Yeah.
And so as business sense, partnering up with somebody helps compress time. Instead of learning everything, you got someone who's already going to just give it to you, and you just follow a very specific part of that process. So our niche really is the failed face-to-face agent who couldn't make it for whatever reason and is looking for a partner to help them with that.
Do you mind walking through some numbers with your business on, what your contracts are, like what you pay for? How's that business structure look like for that failed face-to-face agent? Would you mind maybe unpacking what's a good deal versus a bad deal?
Yeah, without getting to like commissions and carriers.
Yeah,
well, I'll tell you. So there's a buzzword in the industry, street level, which is defined by each individual IMO. Like, you can't call the carrier and say what's street level,
right?
Because they'll just, whatever, make it up. Or they won't tell you. They'll say, we'll call these IMOs, and they'll let you know. So we've marketed our opportunity as 50% of street level contract. Meaning, if you were to go out and open up your own business, you need to take 50% of revenue coming in and invest it back in your business. So we've modeled the North Star opportunity in the same way. 50% is going to be allocated to leads, staff, support, training, admin, contracting, someone to audit your applications. You should, whether you're independent or not, you need to be investing back in your business. If you're wanting to open up a business, some people just want to be self-employed their whole life with no responsibility, and that's okay too. That's okay. But if you're looking to build a business, whether you're independent or not, you need to take some of that money and put it back into your business. If not, you're just always running on fumes. You're making sales to pay your bills, and that's not a business. That's being self-employed.
And you have no problem recruiting. You get, multiple people. How many applications a week or a month do you get?
We run a webinar once a week.
How many do you get locally in the Winsville area?
Yeah, so
locally you get a lot.
Yeah, we get a lot locally. A lot of our recruits are newer agents as well. In other words, there's not a huge ton of failed face-to-face agents in the St. Louis area.
That's true.
So a lot of them are salespeople that are wanting to open up businesses that then we're then bringing in, outlining the business model, helping them get their license, and then them coming on board.
Okay.
On the
do you prefer that because they're not bad habits?
Yeah, totally. They're much easier to train. Much
see that.
easier to train.
I can easily see that.
Yeah.
So why do you feel like people are lining up at your door to get 50% of street level?
Because they're making more money. That's why.
And just because you're handling everything and letting them just sell?
Exactly. Okay. There's a myth in the industry that the higher the contract, the more money you make. That is what people are chasing, is the higher contract. And you can, in some IMOs, value added is, well, we pay higher than everybody else. And to a degree, that might be true. But for the novice, newer agent,
Yeah.
You don't need to be chasing commissions. You need to be chasing mentors. You need to be chasing the person that's going to spend time with you and actually train you how to do that.
And
Telesales or not.
No, and the ones, what I've noticed over the past is the ones that are only seeking that, they're normally not producing anyway. So
Well, they end
what's
up
the
coming
point?
to work for me for half of it anyways. I mean, that's what happens. Because they know.
They've kind of already just sort of ran that course and became frustrated.
Yeah, and you got to think, guys. Listen, the insurance industry is modeled so different than any other business in the world. I mean, there's nowhere else where I can call an IMO, get 5 points above street, because quite honestly, that's not that difficult to do. And now I own a business. Now I put an ad on Craigslist. In some cities, it costs me nothing. You call in and I pitch you on this concept of I pay you street and I got you discounts on these leads. And so now I become a perceived business owner. Like, no other industry is that irresponsible. None.
I agree.
No, you know what I'm saying? So what happens is these new people come in and they're just like fresh bait, and they're being eaten up by all these guys that are really just 1 or 2 weeks more in the industry than them, but they just don't know any better. Because there's just a sense of glorified multi-level marketing within the industry, which in my opinion is just irresponsible. And that's why most agents fail, is not because of their work ethic or not because that they don't have the desire, but because they're being aligned with the wrong people that don't believe what they believe.
In your company, is there one thing you look for, whether you're looking for, a local agent for your call center, whether they're licensed or not? There's like something that you guys find that I've always heard females are great at telesales.
Yes, they are.
Is there some other things that you like look for and you notice and it's...
Yeah, so on a disc assessment, if you're familiar with the disc assessment, high Ds do really well. Okay, more dominant.
Those are hard to find.
Well, you'd be surprised.
Or at least there's none living here.
Let me tell you something. Mothers are high Ds. Okay, because you have an adapted disc and then you have a natural disc. In other words, how do I act in my natural state, and then how do I act when the pressure's put on me? In an adapted state, most mothers are high Ds. Because let me tell you something. If you are at the grocery store and somebody does something with one of your kids, it turns on right away. The sweetest lady will turn on a high D. Now fathers could be a little more patient. Like, hey, watch out, that's my kid. But mothers aren't like that. So mothers do really well. And a lot of our staff are single moms. And the reason for that is because they need flexibility. So they're running a business, making really, really good money, putting in 40 hours a week, and still not having to miss any of their kids' recitals or plays or sporting events.
And for those that didn't catch that, he's talking about the DISC assessment, which is an assessment that you can take, which is like a personality test.
Yeah, it's a predictive index.
Yeah, D's dominance, I's influence, S is like stability, C's something to do with like, I always think like computer people. Consistency. I had I think it was natural. I had 100D and a 90I on like the written one, like the paper one. That I tried.
Yeah, you're a high D, high I.
Yeah.
He's a high S, high C.
Okay.
Cool. I don't think I've never done one.
It's a good balance.
Yeah.
That's why he's so freaking organized. He loves email.
I'm not that organized. I just hired my wife to clean up my mess.
When you're a high D and a high I, you see somebody with like one folder on their desk, you're like, man, that guy's a high S, high C.
That's funny.
True.
It's so true.
That's good.
That's
Well,
awesome.
what do I want to talk a little bit more about your business. So what do you feel like, if you could sum it up in a couple, axioms, wisdom nuggets, why do you feel like you're so successful? Because you're 33, okay, doing tens of, right? Is that how you are? Doing tens of millions a year, okay, where guys twice our age are all trying to figure this whole out. Why you? What's going on?
It's interesting that you say success, because I don't know if I would consider myself a success, but I think people
successful people never do, by the way.
I think people define success much differently from each other. To me, success is the freedom of choice. Can I make a decision that I want to make and not have to think about it? And so when I catch myself thinking about a decision, I'm not there yet. I'm just not there yet. And specifically for me, that sometimes means financial. Cody jokes with me about getting a jet. I don't have a jet. But that's important to me.
We need a jet.
You know what I'm saying?
We need a jet.
So I'm missing. Today is my son's birthday.
No way.
Yeah.
Dude, why'd you come down here?
Today's my son's birthday. But if I had a jet, I wouldn't have had to miss his birthday.
Oh, I feel horrible.
You know what I'm saying? Well, you don't have to feel horrible. I like you too, Cody.
I know, dang.
But you
Really
know,
like us
so that's
now.
that's not success to me.
That makes sense.
You know what I'm
Makes
saying?
sense.
So,
A jet's not, or
well, I had to make a choice. Like it was this
Oh,
or this,
yeah.
right? And so it was a tough decision for me. Well, if I had the resources to not have to make this or that decision, that's success. Well, yeah, I can fly out there, I'll do my deal, I'll fly back, no big deal.
yeah.
That's success to me. But I think for everybody, it's choice. For some people, you know, I would consider Mother Teresa a great success. But it wasn't financial success. But when you talk about how she influenced people, how she changed the world, how she helped people, that's success. So it's defined so differently for everybody.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
Most people, it's instant monetary.
Exactly. And to me, I believe it's choice. I believe Mother Teresa had the freedom of choice. And that is success. I'm not there yet personally. So,
What do you have to do to get there? When will you feel like, all right, dude, I am freaking successful now?
You know,
then I don't think that'll happen. But I want to hear you answer.
Yeah,
it.
I don't know that feeling, to be
Yeah.
honest with you.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if I've ever been around someone who's.
If you
had that
knew
feeling.
that feeling,
Are you trying to do that test those on me? It would be, you know, one of my mentors in the industry, his name is Scott Riddle. He's been in the industry probably 50 years.
jeez.
And he's the exact opposite of me. He's a Texan, he speaks with a drawl. At one time I was a vegan, he has cattle. You know what I mean? Like we couldn't be more opposite of each other. Matter of fact, I just missed his call while we were on this
I saw
podcast.
that.
And he's wealthy. He probably don't want me to say that.
You've been
But he's still
50 years.
Yeah,
and
and he's
you're
80 some years
you know,
old,
yeah.
and he shows up to the office every day.
wow.
And
That's really cool.
you know what I'm saying? And so if you ask him, I'm thinking, because he has the freedom of choice, and he chooses to go to work every day. He doesn't have to, but he chooses to. And so if you ask him, are you successful? He'll say, I'm just getting started. But when I look at someone like that, that's probably the model for success, like getting up and saying, you know, I choose to go to work today. Because I think right now, could I walk away and be okay? Probably, but I still go there because
You could sell it.
I need to work.
Yeah.
You know, there's no other way to say it. So I'm not necessarily choosing to go to work as much as I enjoy it. I want to be part of it. I'm growing something. I'm building something. So I'm just not there yet. So for the agent that's listening, like, because your question was specifically like, what's different for me than anybody else or something like that is what you asked. I don't think I'm different than anybody else. I think everybody has it in them. I think everybody has it in them, but you got to want it. You got to chase what your definition of success is.
Do you think you'll be working when you're 80?
I think I need to work to stay alive.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
I don't know what I would do.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and I don't want to be a downer, but my dad had Alzheimer's, and it kicked off when he retired.
Yeah.
He was a mathematician, and you know, when he went from, I think he taught for 35 years, and then he went to OTC and taught, and he was sharp, and you know, but then he retired. He started playing those slots on computer games, and I'm telling you, my whole family believes that really sped up the Alzheimer's quite
Sure.
a bit, you know, because and we all, that's one of the things that clicked with me. I'm like, man, I always got to keep my brain moving, keep things moving,
Yeah.
going, doing all that. So.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I don't think I'm ever going to retire per se. I'll just pick different businesses that maybe have more flexibility or whatever.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Or build a business and you're just going in making sure everybody's okay. Like just go in and shake people's hands, pat them on the head, pat them on the butt if they're male, you know, and move on.
One of the things I think
Only
is
males.
interesting about you specifically, when we go to your office, if you guys have ever seen North Star, it's a spectacle, right? But you know, you're the founding partner, the key partner, the managing partner, and 100% of the people that walk by, you shake their hand or notice them by their first name.
Well, that's important to me because it was important for me when I was in their position. And that's the only reason why I have Facebook. I only got on Facebook to connect with my people because I felt like I was disconnected. You know, there's at any time over 200 people walking in and out of the office. And I try my very best to look at their faces, memorize their faces, remember their names. But Facebook also helps me with that. You know, I saw your wife today, Lindsay. I met her one time a couple months ago, or a month ago. But because I'm friends with her on Facebook and I see her stuff, it's a way for me to practice. And so that's the only reason why I even have Facebook. So when I was an agent, I would have wanted that.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
important.
So one of the things that you're not shy about is the adversity that you've been through, right? Do you feel like that adversity that you've been through helped you, catapult you? I mean, when you didn't have a choice, you
Totally.
just made it happen?
Yeah.
Would you talk a little bit about that adversity that you saw as a family?
So a lot of people will say you need to forget about your past. Don't let your past hold you back. Move on. But I tend to believe that people pay you for your past. I think that experience is what you get paid for. And so I grew up in a very traditional household. My parents both immigrated here from Israel. My mother never worked a day in her life. My father worked, got wrapped up with the wrong people, got into some bad situations, and ended up going to federal prison. And so here I was about to go into college, and Tony was still in high school. My brother Jonathan was in middle school, and my sister Jessica was in grade school. And none of us, now I worked at like fast food or whatever, but none of us had really ever had any income. And my mother had never worked, and there we are.
Sheesh.
Now we have to make ends meet, you know what I mean? And then eventually he got deported. He spent years in prison, and then we didn't know because he only had his green card. Then he got deported back to Israel. He lives in Israel now. Now he was an awesome dad. I mean, he taught me how to raise my kids. And that, we had our whole family had our back against the wall, and so we had to come up with a solution. It just happened to be insurance. So now, fast forward to where I am today, when it comes to managing hundreds of people, I can sit there and listen to people's stories and help walk them through the process of overcoming that adversity. Not because I forgot about my past, but because I can use that to then help those people walk through their current. And I embrace my past. I mean, it's nothing I'm ashamed of. It's not me. It's not my dad. It's not my family. But it is what it is. And we use that as a means of helping and in some ways even monetizing.
What was the core that, because I would think a lot of families would become fragmented at
Sure.
that point.
Yeah.
And use that as we all went our own ways. What kept you? Sounds like you guys did the opposite. Sounds like, adversity came and then you guys went zoom and just connected even more.
Yeah, so I have a wonderful dad and a wonderful mom. And my dad never missed he was self-employed. He owned car lots, and he would even, I tell this story all the time about, he'd go to pawn shops and like buy stuff from people before they went into the pawn shop. Yeah. And me and Tony would watch this, like our whole life we just saw businesses. Now this was after the restaurant business. So they had a restaurant, they sold it, my dad got into cars, but always an entrepreneur, never really was fluent in English. So he had a lot of things that held him back. I mean, if my dad was like eloquent and could like write emails and stuff, he'd be a multimillionaire, but he just out-hustled everybody. So, but we grew up very close anyways. Like we would have like Sunday dinners with like grandparents, all the aunts and uncles every Sunday. And we just thought that was normal. My dad was extremely affectionate to us growing up, all the way in high school. Like he would kiss me in front of my friends who had never even like held their dad's hand, and they thought that was all weird, but he was just so affectionate. So we just grew up very, very tight, very, very close. So when adversity hit my family, it was no choice but to rely on each other, and so we clung together and we just worked through it together. And so in many ways, it is that adversity, like when I said I hired my mom, like we didn't have a choice, like Mom, you gotta help me out, like Tony, you gotta help me out,
Yeah,
Jonathan,
lose our house if we don't figure this out.
That's what I'm saying, so, and that's a big part of that.
Wow.
I think too many people retreat from things like that, but I believe it's not a setback. Like you can really look at that stuff and like it's a setup for something big, and it just happened to work out that way for us too.
How old's Tony?
Tony, he was born in '89, so he just turned 30 in January.
Okay, yeah, we're like the same age. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
How much did faith play into that journey?
Huge. I mean, there's no doubt about that. I mean, if you believe even partially in what the Bible says, then you know that God has your best interest in mind. And quite honestly, if you believe that, you should be looking for adversity, because that's where it all goes down. You look at, there's a number of stories in the Bible, and I can go deeper if you want, where even in some cases, he looked for the most faithful people to bring adversity to. and then he blessed them even more. So we were going to church already, but our faith grew stronger, our family dynamics grew stronger. We were, in many ways, an example to other people by happenstance. And to this day, it's still a part of our story, a part of our journey that we're using to help anybody who can use it.
That's incredible. Yeah, you seem like you work that side of your life into your business. How do you walk that line? I mean, you're not afraid. If you follow him on Facebook or Instagram, you're constantly quoting scripture. I mean, I respect that a lot. A lot of people are afraid of that. Why do you do that? Or what's that? What's going on there?
Well, I don't know how else to do it. That's it. I don't know any other way of doing it. Like, it's just being authentic. And
yeah, you're always super real. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's all I know what to do. I don't know. I mean, if you're either authentic or you're not. And if you're not, then that's something you got to come to terms with.
Because your culture at North Star is unparalleled.
I mean, I got people showing up before work starts. Now, I can't be part of it, but employees that show up early and they pray over our building. They put their hands on cubicles and they pray for people. And that's something that was never asked of them. They just do it. And I've been blessed in many ways. And I can't say that I'm just lucky and he just chose me. I just think he does that for everybody. You just got to be okay with that. And some people just shy away from it, Now, maybe it's a little different for me because I grew up for the first couple years of my life in Israel, and we were a minority of a minority, Palestinian Arab Christians with Israeli passports. There's no smaller minority in the world. So there was always that clinging together because we had to. That's all we had, even in the community. So it was something that we were proud of. Like you flaunted that. Like, I am a Christian, and you own that. Imagine during segregation times, just what African Americans had to go through and how they clung together to change the law and the Constitution. In many ways, it's the same thing. So that's just ingrained and embedded in my makeup.
And it comes through in your business, which you would think that would get lost on your pursuit or on your growth to 300 people or whatever you have. You would think that would get lost along the way, but it seems so much a part of your culture and foundation. It's interesting to me.
Well, we're not sellouts. Me, my brothers, or my mother, we're not sellouts. It's just this is who we are. We ain't gonna change it. Now, we're respectful. Like, we're not trying to convert anybody.
Yeah.
Openly convert anybody. I mean, we just practice what we preach, and people see that, they like it, they trust it, and they want to be part of something bigger.
What about outside of the faith portion? I still feel like you guys invest massive amounts of resources into the culture. Can you talk a little bit about why you find that that's so important? I mean, hundreds of thousands of dollars you're pouring into your culture, building them up and coaching them.
Yeah.
Maybe millions.
Yeah,
I mean, you guys are doing some jet trip to KC and all this stuff. I mean,
we're trying to give people experiences that they would never have with any other company. And we truly are investing in our people, getting them to grow, because you have to understand, the failed agent is the one that's attracted to my culture. And that doesn't include employees. And many times, my best employees are also failed employees elsewhere. And so we've really found this niche where we can be patient with someone who's just trying to get life together and mentor them and get them to grow to a place where they can become leaders and get their work life in balance with their personal life, and then have those feed each other instead of what they're used to with them pulling each other apart. And so we model that. We model that in our own lives, we model that in our business, and we bring in coaches and speakers, and we put together extravagant contests and award ceremonies to just really show that it's much bigger than just you. Like, there's so much more to life than, let me go to work, let me wait till Friday, let me get my paycheck, let me pay my bills, let me have $15 left over that needs to last me 2 weeks. Too many people are in that rigmarole, and it doesn't have to be that way. There's not a shortage of money for anybody. You just need to know what you're doing to capture that.
So, we're running a little bit low on time, but one of the things I always try to ask guys that I really respect, there's so much in there that you take for granted that guys like us are like, geez, can you just keep talking? So if you're to write, if you were to write a book, right? If you were to write a book,
oh, man,
what would that book be first? What would your first book be?
Man, that's a good question. My first book You talking about like a business book?
No,
or,
I'm asking what your first book would be.
I would probably help people make more money. Specifically, I believe the church has demonized money, and I take offense to that. I believe that money is a tool that God created, and I've never had a minister tell me, "Can you stop putting so much money in the offering plate?" Yet we preach against the chase of money. So I believe that the church needs to be educated on how to make money in an honest, ethical way so that can be reinvested into programs that can help further the kingdom on earth. And we need to quit demonizing people or thinking that it's for selfishness. I just think we've really lost we've lost an opportunity there, specifically with business owners, money, and the church, and how those can all actually be a good thing and not fighting for your loyalty.
Interesting.
For example, just real quick, people like to quote that the love of all money is evil. You know, I don't love my money. You know, money is not evil, but the love of money is. And I believe that, but we just get that confused sometimes. Like, I don't have to love my money as much as I love, you know, the cloth that's draped over my oven. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just a tool. You know, I wipe my hands, I get them clean. Like, it's just a tool. But if I fixate on that tool and it becomes my identity, now it can be something really bad. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't have to be that way. And I think the Bible is very intentional. It says the love of money, not money, is evil.
It's wisdom right there. I wish we had the Bradley knowledge bomb button.
You need your own 8% button. I don't know what that would do, what it would say, but
Cody, we got Ramiz. What do you want to ask him? Anything else before we draw to a close?
I want to go back to like culture, atmosphere. How many pre-qualifiers do you guys have, and closers and customer service people and all that, like in individual departments?
Okay, we have 7 locations. Okay. Home office is in Winston, Missouri. That's where all staff, all support staff, marketing staff, contracting is all out of Winston.
Pre-qualifiers.
Yeah, so the other locations have only sales agents.
Gotcha, yeah.
At the home office, there's about just over 100 sales agents and then 100 support staff, which includes our pre-qualifying department. Yeah. Now we're growing exponentially, and so that's changing weekly. And then there's probably another 100 agents out of 6 other locations.
And you guys talked about including the free download to the Telesales script in this podcast as well, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to give us your whole script?
The whole thing?
Yeah, no. Okay,
I'll
so
give you an Arabic.
there we go. That wouldn't help me. One of your agents that spoke at on the panel at 8%.
Okay.
What kind of volume does she do, or what's kind of some of the top agents? You know, you talked about like 5K is like a minimum. You know, I always love talking numbers and salespeople. And
Right now,
I didn't share her name. I didn't know if that was
that's
cool.
fine. You can share it if you want. You want me to say it?
It's her niece, yeah.
Yeah. So we have, what's today? Wednesday? No, today's Thursday. So tomorrow's the last day of the month.
I have to say her name because you gave me a hug yesterday, which actually several of your salespeople did because you brought them to 8%.
Yes. So this is a live count of top producers. She's number 1 for the month, and she has written month to date.
And it's right now it's the 29th.
Yeah. So she has one more day. She has 50 apps for $38,000 of premium.
Okay.
Which is a pretty good month.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Not bad.
You know. So then you look at, okay, well, what kind of money does she make?
Yeah, yeah,
And just imagine that her lead cost was 0.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'll just leave it at that.
All right. Okay.
It's incredible.
Dang.
Yeah.
Okay. Tips. Insurance agent is considering telesales, and that comes up so much.
Yeah.
Most of them really shouldn't even consider it, but they do.
Sure.
What are some tips for someone that is like, I'm doing it no matter what you guys say, even though I'm like a really successful face-to-face agent, I'm going this way for whatever reason.
Yeah. You need to study under a mentor. That's my number 1 tip. They say it takes 10,000 hours to be a master at something, and there's no way to fast forward that. But
So this should have been a Success Society to hear you tonight. Is that what you're saying?
well, but what I'm telling you is that
Yeah.
if there is a way to fast forward it, you need to be learning from someone who's already done it. That's the
For sure.
only
That's good.
short way of doing it, and you're still going to take time.
Who that is successful at something didn't learn from another successful person along the way? Like none of us can say that hasn't been the case.
No,
You
for
know what I
sure.
mean?
Yeah. You need and
But people lose sight of that. Is it like I think it's just like human nature. Like I'll figure it out on my own. It's like
It's
successful people don't figure it out on their own.
well, I believe it's entrepreneurial nature. All right. You know what I mean? Like there's
Yeah.
some people that are just humble enough to know I could use some help. Entrepreneurs who happen to mostly be high D's
Yep.
can be a little bit more arrogant and think that I got this.
Well, you know what? And most people don't even know it. You may be helping a little bit behind the scenes with 8% next year. You know,
Well, you just said that.
dude, right?
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm kind of holding you to it because I'm putting it out there, right? But it's like, dude, like people need help. You know,
And there's
you
nothing
can't
wrong
be an
with that.
expert at everything you do.
And that is the tip right there.
Okay.
That is the tip. You cannot be the expert at everything. You have got to find people that are better than you in certain aspects of the business. So good that you can't hire them. You need to partner with those people, and then you need to work with them to build a business. And if you're going in it all alone, you'll be all alone for the rest of your life. No doubt about it.
If there was an agent that was like, I'm going to sell from home, doing what I'm doing with my leads and everything else, and you know what, I'm not going to listen to anything anybody says, I don't want to learn from anybody or listen to mentors, but you could give them like one helpful telesales tip.
Don't do it.
Okay. There you go.
That's your tip.
If you had to.
I wouldn't give it to them.
Okay.
And you're saying don't do it just because it's silly? You're
You're not going to make it.
It's super difficult.
You're just not going to make it.
Super
now,
difficult.
now let's use this scenario. I'm a successful agent. I don't want to listen to anybody. Because there's some people that are just, they'll hit their head against the wall enough times where they'll finally just get through the wall.
Yeah.
Okay? You better have the cash flow and the savings to sustain 3 to 6 months of not making any money. You might have a chance. But I would still tell you don't do it.
Yeah. That's always an understatement too. That never, it's something that's like secret that never gets talked about. It's like, you know.
Here's the secret. There are no secrets. People have said knowledge is power. Like you're doing this, you're picking my brain. Like knowledge is free. Just Google stuff.
Yeah.
Go to YouTube. Like it's not knowledge. Like knowledge is not the differentiating factor. It's getting up and actually doing it, doing something with the knowledge.
It's executing.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, I think the big reason 90% of people fail is they don't execute.
They don't execute because I don't think they've seen execution modeled correctly for them. You know what I mean? Like I said, the insurance industry is so sloppy. You got a bunch of people that don't know what they're doing, recruiting people and teaching them not what to do, and then those are recruiting people to do it wrong too.
And there's 800,000 ways to succeed. So many different products, so many different options. It's like, oh, I'm doing really well,
I
but
could be here for 3
look
hours.
what he's doing. Oh my gosh, I need to go do that.
So then they start
But wait, no, but she's amazing.
Yeah, exactly. So
I gotta go do that.
They haven't seen execution modeled correctly. So it's just so sloppy, and then they're following the same sloppy business. Listen, if you do something wrong long enough, you'll make money at it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they see somebody who's 68 years old doing it wrong for so long that they're making $100,000 a year. Well,
Yeah.
good gracious, it took them 30 years to get there, and they've been broke for half their life. Like, is that what I want? But they don't see that.
Yeah.
They just don't see that.
Someone's gonna come up a bunch if I don't at least bring up the question. What about like a script tip? Because it's going to come up, and it already is.
Yeah, voice inflection.
Okay.
My script has
That's good.
words that are italicized, underlined, bold, all caps, taller font, that all trigger a certain voice inflection. And you cannot go in and think you already know that stuff, because when you're in telesales, your script, especially the first 2 or 3 pages, you're going to say it so many times you have it memorized. Well, when something is memorized, it comes across as if you're reciting it. Well, for the client, it's the first time you've heard it. So if you just have a flat voice inflection with little tempo, with no volume changes, then the client gets bored. All of a sudden they're busy. Hey, I gotta go. And so you fail. So you have to have a script. You have to have it in front of you. And it doesn't matter how many times you've read it, you read it. And you keep paying attention to all the points that you know you have to.
Give us an example. You mentioned like underlines and bolds and.
So we never say, like, when I get you qualified. It's, I may get you qualified.
And May is.
May, as in, I'm going to try my best, but I'm not sure I can do it.
Is May like underlined or what's?
Emboldened, so I'm emphasizing the word may.
I may get you qualified.
Yeah. Think about if none of us here have older children, although I guess I have an older child, but when you're teenagers have the best voice inflection. You know what I mean? Like if I ask my son, who's now 16, hey man, did you see did you lose my keys? Well, I didn't lose your keys. I was like, okay, so you know where they're at. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like the voice inflection communicates the whole message. It's not the words, it's how you say the words.
That's interesting.
And so when you have a script, you need to have a conscious effort when you're communicating, because it's a script. You have to have a script. And if you're just reading it and then now you become reciting it, it takes away from the entire message you're trying to communicate.
I didn't even anticipate getting that out of this podcast. That was good.
That's a big one.
That's good.
That's a big one. People are looking for scripts. I see
There
scripts
you
all
go.
the time.
There you go.
I see scripts all the time posted online, like telesales scripts, and they're good scripts, but it's just 12-point font going down just the words. I'm like, that's actually a really good script, but that person's going to fail because they're going to read it and it ain't going to work.
It's that important.
It's more important than the script.
Interesting.
Yeah. Now our script is over 20 pages long.
I was going to ask you that next, but I didn't know you were going to
I
share that.
saw it in your eyes.
You could have. Yeah, you had to.
It's over 20 pages long.
So what's your average talk time? Like, what's that look like?
If you're making a sale, you're spending 60 minutes on the phone with the client. Yeah.
And then your openers, that's after the opener, or that's from beginning to end?
From beginning to end.
Jonathan shared with us like the average minimum talk time for like a transfer. Which
Oh,
I
up to
was,
30 minutes minimum.
yeah,
37 is what he said.
Oh, was it 37? Well, hey, we're
That's
doing
it.
much better.
I was
this week.
amazed.
That's good. Yeah, so the average talk time per lead is, but you gotta understand,
From a
man,
transfer. Yeah.
it's a TV commercial,
Yeah.
getting pre-qualified, and that's why if you're getting a telesales, you need to be looking at inbound calls, because from the inception of interest to when you're on the phone with them, it's so minimal. Direct mail, you gotta convince them that they actually fill out the card. Like, that's not an objection that we have to overcome. So if you're getting a telesales, there are some advantages, because that's very hard to do that on a small scale, like getting to TV and only getting like broadcast channels, NBC, and then trying to field all those phone calls and then actually setting up appointment. That's very difficult to do on a one-guy shop. But that 37 minutes is because they're not doing any of the pre-qualifying, they're not doing any of the prospecting, they're not getting voicemails and answering machines, and so it's a bit of an inflated number only because there's a lot of support staff behind that.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah.
That's not to be expected.
It is teed up.
It is.
It's
And even
T-ball.
then, and I think this is why most agents fail in general, even then, as teed up as that is, I mean, it's a lob ready to be just grand slammed out of the park. Only 1 out of 3 are going to convert. 33% of those people will make a buying decision.
That actually seems high to me too.
Well, that means for every 1 yes I get 2 no's. And
Yeah.
some people cannot psychologically deal with that many no's. Telesales gives you way more no's than face-to-face.
Oh yeah. I didn't convert 1 in 3.
Yeah.
But I
Some
wasn't
people
getting
quit.
teed up either.
Yeah, well, so they get so many no's, they're like, I can't deal, they just mentally can't deal with that many no's, being turned
Yeah.
down that many times.
You bring up a good point. This is called 8% Nation Podcast.
Uh,
Rejection's a big part of what we do.
oh, you gotta, listen, you're in sales. You're gonna be rejected more times than not. So don't get upset about it, like expect it. Like that's the expectation. I'm gonna hear no more times than yes. If you can't handle that, then just, it ain't even about insurance, just get out of sales.
That's good. That's good.
And don't translate, listen, you got me preaching now, man.
Dude.
Don't translate natural sales resistance for a no. So many agents.
Oh, this is good. No, this is pay really good attention. This is really, really good.
So many agents confuse like comments or concerns with objections.
Yeah.
If I show up to a car lot, Landon, me and you're gonna go buy a car. Okay.
This is good.
You and Lindsay are gonna go buy a car. You've researched the car, the colors, the brand. I don't even know if the brand is even the right word, but the make and model is what I'm trying to say. And my dad was a car lot, he'd be so disappointed with me. You show up at the car lot, you're ready to go. You've even looked at loans. You get out of your car, and then of course all the sales guys are like, biting at the bit to talk to you. Okay, especially if you're dressed like this. I never dress up like that at the car lot. Okay. Flip-flops and shorts with a wife beater, that's how I'm showing up. The sales guy says, hey, good morning, how are you today? Good. Is there anything I can help you with today? What is your answer every time?
Yeah, no, I'm just looking.
I'm just looking, but you're interested.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So most agents perceive that as, well, this lead isn't good.
It's bad.
Why am I talking to them? They're not interested. But it's just natural. Like you're a
It's human
freaking
nature.
salesperson.
Yeah.
Everybody is scared of a salesperson.
Yeah.
So sometimes we amplify the no's because we're mistranslating what the person is saying.
So your pre-qualifiers are used to all the.
Listen, even,
I'm not interested.
Yeah, but
I'm just shopping.
even after they're pre-qualified, a lot of times the customers will say, "Now listen, I just want you to know, I'm going to fix ticket. I'm not sure I can afford anything." Well, that's what you say when you show up to a car lot. That's what you say when you go buy a computer. That's what everybody says.
Yeah.
Because they're afraid. So you have to take your time, communicate the full message, and be patient with them. If Landon showed up with his wife and they already had everything ready to go, and he said, "I'm just shopping around," what if the salesman said, "What do you mean you're just shopping around? Like, this is a car lot. Are you ready to buy a car or not?"
Yeah, I'm out of there.
Exactly.
That's how agents are trained in our business to rebuttal that objection.
It's horrible.
That's
It's not an
legit how they're
objection.
trained.
It's not an objection.
Yeah, it's not.
So what does the guy say? "Hey man, no problem. I'm right here if you need me." It's the same thing with an insurance agent. "Hey, Miss Mary, don't worry about it. I'm just here to help you." Now, what I do is, and I'm writing my presentation. I don't let that change. Like, I don't compromise the integrity of the process based on what the customer says. They don't even know they like me yet. Like, they don't know I'm honest. They don't know I'm a nice person. They don't know we have a lot of things in common. But if I can communicate that with them, much like any other generic salesperson would do, I got a shot.
Boom.
But my closing ratio in the first 60 seconds is 0. So what matters? What is it going to say that's going to matter? Nothing. Because even if they're like, "Hey man, I'm ready to buy, I'm ready to go," if I try to quote them and close them right there, it didn't happen.
Gosh, I love that you said
0%.
that. I've been telling insurance agents that work leads that for like almost 4 years.
Well, that's why I don't sell leads.
For real. Yeah. And I don't blame you.
Yeah, well, I don't envy you selling leads, I'll tell you
Yeah.
that.
Because it's always the lead, man. It's always the lead.
That is
you know?
that is such a pathetic excuse. And if it ain't the leads, it's the kids. If it ain't the kids, it's the government. It's the taxes. It's the weather. It's something. And that's why you will fail.
It's never the agent.
The agents that are making it never blame anything but themselves. The agents that are struggling and barely making it are going to find an excuse or a reason. And listen, for every one reason you have 15 reasons, I have 15 reasons, and he has 15 reasons why we can't make it either. You know, it's just that one agent just thinks that they have a good reason. We all got a reason, but it's a matter of defining what success looks like and then going after it. And you also have to.
That was good.
You also have to see that model though. You know what I mean? Like, if you go in and you're independent and you're not seeing what it really looks like, then you don't know what to blame. Like, that's a learned thing. Like, it's not natural to blame yourself. Like, you have to see that modeled. And if you're not seeing that modeled, like, if you watch the interview between Grant Cardone and Jordan Belfort,
Everybody talks.
He won't watch it.
It's so
He
awkward.
will not watch it.
it's really good. It's
I'll watch it again. It's so uncomfortable.
but it is uncomfortable because Jordan Belfort asks, left to their own devices, a salesperson is not going to do well. And Grant Cardone's answer was, a salesperson should never be left to his own devices. You know what I mean? And that's the answer. If you look at even you in your own business, it may not feel like it, but you have people holding you accountable. I have partners. I have payroll. My payroll keeps me accountable. Like, I got to get stuff done so I can pay these people. So you can't be a lone wolf out there and expect to make it. You're not going to make it. There needs to be accountability and a model to follow to make that happen.
Yeah, you kind of mentioned a little financial pressure too. To like,
I love financial pressure. That's why I love.
that's what we bought. That's why we bought our house.
Yeah, you need that.
You know what I mean? And in a way, Lauren's like, heck, let's buy another one.
Your mortgage.
I'm not kidding.
Your mortgage payment is what's forcing you to get results.
Oh, totally. Yeah, and our staff, of 20 or how many freaking staff do you have? Totally true.
Yeah.
Totally true. Like, it's. We were doing everything we were doing with like me and one other person for a while.
Sure.
Not to this level. But
Sure.
we don't need 20. We don't have to have 20 people, but
Yeah.
that's good.
You know,
a little
so
pressure along the way doesn't hurt.
But you gotta be careful. You have to see success modeled. And if you're just trying to figure it out on your own, yes, you can make it, but it'll take you a very, very long time, and you're gonna lose a lot of money in the process.
Most people are alone in this business.
Yeah, well, that's what's preached, man.
And I'm not saying like, IMO wise. I'm just saying like in general, it's natural for you to be alone. You're normally in, a random city in the country.
Sure.
By yourself, in your car all day, walking up, someone saying, "I'm not interested," and you're like, crap, those secure agent leads are horrible, and then you leave, and then you get in your car, and you're like, oh my gosh, I've had a horrible day, and this is never going to make it, and oh, by the way, I'm alone, and
Sure.
I'll come back tomorrow.
Listen, if you were drowning in a pool, you're counting on somebody who's outside the pool to save you. Because the people in the pool probably don't even notice you, don't even
May
see
not be
you.
able to get to you.
It's exactly right. You're counting on someone who's outside the pool, looking in to come and save you. That's what people get paid to do. It's no different in entrepreneurship. You cannot be in a sinking ship, staring at each other, trying to figure out how are we going to stop this ship from sinking. You need someone who's outside that's going to coach you and mentor you, that sees the entire picture. So you have to have that mentor. And I agree with you. Most of the industry is just the lone wolf model, and it just takes a long time to be successful that way. You need to partner up with people, build synergy, and be okay with that. Get out of your own way. Like, it's okay to admit I'm not good at everything. That's a tough thing for a lot of people to say.
It really is.
Yeah. It was tough for me to say just then.
Still tough for me to say. You ain't lying.
Yeah.
Well, because it's more work to slow down and explain it. It's more work to bring people along upside. You know, it's easier just to, I'll just handle it.
It takes more work to make more money too.
Exactly. Totally agree.
Yeah.
That's the whole idea behind responsibility rationing.
That is the whole concept with responsibility rationing. Being okay with admitting that there are certain aspects of the client experience that can be better by finding somebody who's more of an expert in that specific segment, and then rationing off that responsibility to someone else to do that for you. As salespeople, typically the best thing we're good at is making sales. And so if you're doing anything outside of that,
We talk about this all the time.
you're taking away from your business.
Yes.
Like, why are you faxing over paperwork? Like that cost you thousands of dollars. Like, literally, you should be driving to your next appointment.
One of the things I'll not forget about our trip yesterday when we came up to see you walked us through your awesome area, and then one of your huge callers, like top performers, was like putting together a whiteboard.
Yeah.
And you're like, what was her name? Do you remember?
Ernie's.
You're like, hey, Ernest, this must be the most expensive whiteboard in the.
He was the top producer in his
Yeah.
whole company.
This must be the most expensive whiteboard in the building if
Yeah.
you're getting off the phone and put it up. And
Yeah.
that clicked with me. I'm telling you,
I didn't hear that.
Yeah, she was. I was.
No, I
floored.
saw her. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, I was floored. It's like, because she's nice, she wants to do well, but I would never do that.
But it just didn't. It was, to me, that was like wisdom that I just picked up.
Yeah.
That just almost fell off of it. I'm like, oh, I'll take that. You know, 'cause, like that's the most expensive whiteboard in the building. If
Yeah.
you're getting off the phones to put it up, and I'm
Yeah.
like,
Because I could pay somebody like under the table to do that.
Exactly.
You know?
She just put up 50 cells. She averages 2.5 cells a day.
Yeah. She's a beast.
it's just
Maybe 3 cells a day
She
because
got
lunch
off
not even
she got
over.
off the phone to put up lines on our new location. Like, we just expanded, you know, you saw our new side of the office. She got off the phone to put lines on there so other people could write their numbers there. Like, that is the most expensive, that literally is the most expensive whiteboard. Like, I should just laminate it, like have no one touch it, because that was probably $10,000. For her.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You got a bunch of selfless, awesome people, though.
We do. We have a good culture. I'm not trying to rag on them, but
No. It's funny, though.
But you see how I talk to them.
Yeah.
You know, because we are on the same page. Like, they have adopted that business philosophy of, I'm okay with the perceived pay cut so that the value that's brought to the table will amplify my income. Like, they're totally cool with that. So when they're doing boneheaded things, I'm going to say something about it.
Yeah.
But they'll also say the same thing to me.
True.
You know what I mean? And that's that interdependence I'm talking about.
Dude. Incredible, man.
Well, thanks for having me.
Incredible.
Yeah.
I could keep going.
Is there anything, you know,
Game with whatever
you
do.
have our audience is younger in general.
Oh, cool.
Is there any wisdom you want to impart as you get away from our audience? Anything you want to make sure? You know what? I wish I would have told the 8% Nation audience this.
Yeah. I hate to keep bashing on the industry, and I don't mean to do that. It's just that it's so disappointing that 92% of agents fail. Like, that is disappointing.
Super.
And it actually makes it more difficult for the legitimate operations to expand and grow. Like, we're having to find people who aren't licensed, getting them licensed, and then plugging them in. So the insurance industry model is designed for a bunch of agents to write a little amount of business. Because the guy on top makes the same amount of money. 10 agents writing 10 deals equals the same as 100 agents writing 1 deal each. It's the same amount of money for the guy on top. So I would say, if you're an agent getting in the industry, I would not cross-sell a thing unless I was making $100,000 a year in one product. whether it be Medicare, whether it be final expense, whether it be annuities, whether it be long-term care, even if the customer's begging you for it, hey, I really need some Medicare supplements. Because see, then you spend time trying to study and learn that, and now you've invested more money with your time in something you're going to use maybe once or twice. You know what I'm saying? Just do well at that one thing. If you can't make $100,000 doing one thing, then you're not even doing that right. So why are you trying to do your clients a disservice?
Yeah, you're going to be part of the 92%, so what's it matter?
That's what I'm saying.
We just talked about that like 3 or 4 episodes ago, like exactly that.
But see, that's not what's being preached in the industry.
No.
Because they don't, listen, I think they care, maybe they care, but it doesn't appear that most people care. They just want the sale after sale after sale. Meanwhile, the agent is the one investing time, investing money, putting wear and tear on their car, going through the grunt work of no shows and trying to convince to get people. Like that's a tough job. So make it as easy as possible and don't listen. Like all that noise out there, the new shiny object. Get all that stuff out of the way. Focus on one thing and make that like you're the expert at this, and then expand from there. But I wouldn't even expand from there. I'd just hire somebody else to do it for me, work my book of business on my behalf so I can continue to be the expert in that one thing.
Well, I mean, you mentioned you've gotten approached 100 times to try and sell Medicare.
Today.
So I'm saying, and you say no.
And it boggles their mind.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sitting on a book of business with a lot of clients, all their socials, all their banking, all their contact information, the release to call them.
Hundreds of thousands of clients.
And I will not call them.
Yeah.
I will not call them. Now, will I someday? Yes. But I haven't achieved success in my vertical yet.
What number? 100 million?
I need to fill up my call center space. And I need to fill up my call center space. And then I'm forced to do something else.
Yeah.
So if what I have right now works, if what I have right now is making me money, why not just do more of that and start trying to figure out something else? Now, if I'm out of space and I have nowhere else to go, what I'm going to do is partner with somebody that already understands the Medicare space. Look at a partnership, because I don't want to be I'm not the expert at selling Medicare. I don't want to be the expert selling Medicare. I want to be the expert selling final expense over the phone. Mm-hmm. So if I've mastered that and then I've really got it in a place where it's where I want it to be, then I will cross sell that book of business and I will find somebody who is the master at that and then work on a rev share with them, where we're just giving them everything they need to make a sale. That's the way to do it. That's the only way I know how to do it. Anything else is going to take away from what I've got going on right now.
Yeah, most wouldn't structure it that way either. Greed. I don't know. You could call it a lot of things, but
most won't make it.
Yeah.
You make it seem so easy to fill up a 1,250 seat call center.
It's easy when all you're doing is one thing. You know what I'm saying? I'm not having, like, our training, the training curve on this is 3 days. In your 4th day, you're making sales on the phone. But it's because I've made it easy. Most agents are like doing ride-alongs as they're training, if they're even doing that. And it's not any formal training. It's like, okay, now watch me pitch this product, and watch me pitch this product. And then they go on their own, then they got to call their manager every time their customer hiccups. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just too hard. It's too complicated. If all I had to do was just learn how to sell final expense, and I got final expense leads, and I had to just drive and duplicate what was outlined for me when I saw it happen, then it's really easy. And it is easy. That's just not the model in the industry. It's get everything you can, sell everything you can, and then let's all celebrate your perceived success. Meanwhile, you're not even paying your bills because you're spending so much on leads, barely making ends meet. And yeah, maybe you're writing a lot of business, but you could be upside down. There's chargeback. There's just so many other variables that all entail in that.
It's true.
It's crazy.
I'm out of questions. Have we hit the bottom of the well yet in Ramiz?
I mean, you can ask me anything you want.
I don't think
Sheesh.
so.
I think there's a lot more to go. We need a round 2.
From the North Star office next time.
Oh, dude, that would be
The
awesome.
call center, yeah.
Yeah. Well, Dylan's going to come and help build my
Studio. Yeah.
studio. Yes, I don't even know the name of it. This is the one thing I don't have that I really. This is what I want more than anything. So.
Yeah, you guys ought to
Well,
be
we got to get you on video.
pumping it.
We all tell you that. You're so funny naturally. You got to get that on video, man. Do whatever it takes to get yourself on video.
Well, I just don't know. I know what it takes, like some TVs, a room.
Lights.
But I just don't have Dylan, so maybe I'll talk to Dylan after this.
All right, there
No,
you go.
you can't talk to him. He's ours.
Yeah, for real.
Yes.
He's awesome.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah,
Thank you, buddy.
Yeah, you killed it. I mean, I really appreciate you taking the time on your son's birthday, no less, dude.
Yeah, no doubt.
That's crazy, dude. Thank you.
Happy birthday, Isaiah. That's his name.
There you go. I love it. Happy birthday,
Well,
Isaiah.
Guys, I hope you found some value out of this podcast. I know I did personally.
If you didn't listen.
No doubt. This may be one of those like Jordan Belfort, where we just listen to it over and over again, right? Didn't you listen to it like 5 times already by this time?
Yeah.
So thanks for coming, Ramiz.
You got it, man.
Dude, appreciate you guys. Have a good afternoon.